Hi everyone, and welcome once again to End of Knowledge. The purpose of this video series, which is going to be ongoing, is to first give an overview of Vedanta and then go into it more in depth by studying its source texts systematically one by one. So the first question is then, what is Vedanta? And to make it simple, for the time being, because we're going to elaborate on this more later, but for the time being, to make it simple, we can just say that Vedanta is a means of knowledge. Okay, it's a means of knowing something. So the question is, Vedanta is a means of knowing what? All right, well, it's a means of knowing what your true nature is. Now you might say, okay, well, that's all fine and well. It's going to help me know what my true nature is, but that's a bit abstract. So, what's this going to do for me? And that's a completely valid question, because you never really do anything without first knowing how it's going to benefit you. Okay, the study of Vedanta can be rather time-consuming. It can be difficult. And it requires you to live a particular kind of lifestyle, and you're required also to do certain kind of preparations before you can ever really even take up the study of Vedanta. So, if you're going to put in all this effort, it makes sense to know what the benefit is going to be. So, what then is the benefit of knowing what your true nature is? Okay, and again, what your true nature is something that we'll go into detail more later in this series, but for the time being, we're just going to leave it as simple as saying your true nature. So what are the benefits of knowing that? Okay, and there's actually a list of 5 things that we're going to go over here. It's a list of things that you get and a list of things that you get rid of. Okay, I'll give you the Sanskrit term just so you can hear it, but by no means do you need to memorize it or anything. I just want to use these terms so you know that I'm not just making them up. They actually do come from somewhere. So the first benefit of knowing what your true nature is. Okay, and since we're talking about you, we will say that this knowledge of your true nature is self-knowledge. Okay, we'll just call it that for the time being. Now, what's the first benefit of self-knowledge? And that is jignasa nivrittihi. Okay, and that just means that you get rid of your desire to know what your true nature is. Now that sounds a little bit redundant, but it's actually not, because everybody, whether they know it or not, is constantly asking or trying to do things to find out, who am I? Where did I come from? What am I doing here? What's going to happen to me once I die? I find myself in this world. I'm pretty sure that I didn't create this world, so is there a creator? If there is a creator, what is my relationship to that creator? Am I the slave of this creator, the slave to its whims and fancies, and does it push me here and there as it pleases, or is it something that I'm in control of? Am I independent? Am I free? Am I my own master, or do I have a master? These are all the kind of perennial questions that everyone asks themselves. So with self-knowledge, the first benefit is to get rid of those doubts once and for all. Self-knowledge is to know without a doubt, clearly, and in a way that you cannot forget, what your nature actually is, where you come from, why you're here, what will happen if you die, what is your relationship to this world, to the Creator, etc. All of those questions are answered finally and definitely. So that's a good benefit because everyone wants to know these things. So what what is that knowledge basically? That knowledge, that self-knowledge, is essentially that you are completely okay, that you are always okay, that you will always be okay. There is nothing that you really need to desire, okay? There's no reason to feel like you lack anything, and there is really nothing to fear because you cannot be harmed or changed. Okay, we'll leave it at that. We'll just say self-knowledge is the firm knowledge without a doubt that you're okay, that you're completely fine. And that in and of itself is the second benefit, which is ananda praptihi. Okay, it's the acquisition of that confidence, of that fulfillment that comes from knowing what your true nature is, what you really are. Okay, because as I said, it's knowing for certain that you're okay. All right, and that knowledge is said to be ananda, which is technically translated as bliss. But bliss, taken literally, isn't really a good translation because we tend to think of bliss as a particular kind of joyous, ecstatic feeling. And that's not exactly what we're talking about here. What we're saying is when you know where you come from, what your purpose in life is, what your true nature is, and that you in fact have nothing to accomplish, nothing to lose, that brings with it an ever-growing sense of fulfillment, of satisfaction. Okay, something that cannot be gained through the normal thing, the normal activities that we normally do. Okay, the reason being that all of the other blisses of life are conditioned by time. Okay, you think of anything that you do, that you accomplish, anything that you gain, or anything in your life that you get rid of, that you want, that you don't want anymore, because sometimes that will also give you bliss, is that they're all temporary. Okay, like any kind of achievement that you get initially will bring you some satisfaction, and then after a while you end up wanting something else, or you lose that achievement. Perhaps you become the best in your field at something you do, and then eventually you lose your abilities, or somebody else comes along who's better than you. That's a good example. Or you acquire a particular possession, and inevitably any of the possessions that you get, you're going to get, and then eventually you're going to lose. Or maybe a relationship with somebody. Relationships begin and then they end. Or a relationship, if it doesn't end, sometimes a relationship you have that makes you happy initially changes, and then it does not make you happy anymore. So all of the things in life, whether it's relationships, food, money, achievements, or any other number of things, all of them have fleeting effects. It's fleeting joy, fleeting fulfillment, fleeting satisfaction. And when we're talking about gaining self-knowledge, we're talking about a fulfillment or satisfaction that is permanent. Okay, so in and of itself, we're saying, hey, what? Not only do you get rid of your desire to know what your true nature is, but you also gain a permanent sense of satisfaction, fulfillment, contentment, and confidence. Because when you know that nothing can change you, nothing can hurt you, that you're always okay, then you're also instilled with an ever-growing sense of confidence as well. All right, so those are the first two benefits, getting rid of the desire to know who you are, and then the acquisition of satisfaction and fulfillment and confidence from that knowledge. And that knowledge happens to not be fleeting. Okay, that satisfaction and confidence is not fleeting. It's not a fleeting joy like the objects in us, around us in this world, because the knowledge is about yourself. Okay, and you do not change. You are always present. These are other factors here. These are other parts of the knowledge that we're talking about. We say you're always okay. You cannot be changed. You're not missing anything. You don't need to, you're not lacking anything. You don't need to fear anything. So this knowledge is not fleeting because it's knowledge of yourself, and you are not fleeting. So the third benefit then is karpanya nivrittihi, all right? And that just means that when you know what your true nature is, who you are, and you know that what you are makes, is you're completely full, all right? That sense of satisfaction and fulfillment is there, and it cannot leave because it's based on the knowledge of who you are, and you cannot leave. Okay, you're always present. That gets rid of your dependence on those temporary objects. Okay, like we said, possessions, relationships, achievements, any of those kind of things, food, music, sex, money, etc. You then get rid of your dependence on those things for your own fulfillment and satisfaction. Because that's how it is, isn't it? We're only feeling good or feeling satisfied when we get what we want, when we keep what we have, and we get rid of the things or avoid the things that we don't want. Okay? But since all of those things are temporary, we constantly have to go for them again and again. If you have an unreliable source of income, that's not really going to bring you peace of mind. If you're not really sure if you're going to be able to make ends meet, then you're going to be disturbed, right? So what if you had a trust fund that had more money in it than you could ever spend in your entire life, right? Well, then you would stop fretting about your everyday job. I mean, assuming you did keep working, but let's just say you have this trust fund full of more money than you can spend in your entire life. That means what? That you could just go about whatever pursuits that you were wanting to do in life, okay, whatever occupation you would want to, and you could do that occupation without worrying about the money, because you have a completely reliable and predictable source of money in that trust fund. Okay, so to kind of put this in the context of what we're talking about, I'll say this. When we depend on the money, the relationships, the achievements, any of those things that are fleeting, when we depend on them, we consistently feel like we have to chase them again and again and again because they don't last. Okay, we don't get any permanent satisfaction, any permanent fulfillment out of them. All right, so when you know who you are, okay, when you know what your true nature is, and that nature is always complete, okay, and it's always a source of satisfaction or fulfillment, then it's like having that trust fund, okay? It's always there, okay, because you're always there, all right? We're saying your nature is full and complete, so you are always fulfilled, you're always satisfied because there's nothing lacking. So if you are always there and you know that you are yourself, then that is the trust fund, okay? You know that you're always satisfied and fulfilled within yourself. So then you don't have to any longer look to fleeting circumstances, fleeting objects, fleeting situations and relationships, etc., to get your sense of satisfaction and fulfillment. So you stop depending on those things. All right? And that's good because that is the source of all of our desires and fears, are all of these things that we want and these things that we don't want or want to get rid of or don't want to happen. We are constantly worried about this stuff. We're unsettled. So you no longer have to feel like that because you know that you're always all right. Okay, you have that trust fund there. So not having to depend on those things is the third benefit. It's not as if you don't enjoy things for what they are, but everything being fleeting, you can just appreciate it as something that's fleeting. It's here for a while. You can enjoy it as it is. And then when it goes, it goes. But you don't have to become unsettled. You don't have to go chase anything new to get your sense of satisfaction because you're already satisfied. Okay? That's karpanya nivrittihi. Getting rid of that sense of neediness, of dependence on external circumstances for your satisfaction and fulfillment. Now, the next one is kind of based on what I said before. All right, knowledge of your true nature, self-knowledge, in a nutshell, is saying, I'm always okay. Okay, I can't change. I'm not lacking anything. I don't need anything. All right. So, along with what we said, you don't have to depend on anything else for your satisfaction. You also have the world's greatest shock absorber. Okay, it's agata nivrittihi. Okay, you're getting rid of agata, shock. And why is that? Because life, of course, is just filled with ups and downs. I mean, you just never know what's coming. When you wake up in the morning, not really sure what's around the corner. Could be your last day on earth. The best thing in the world could happen to you, or the most horrible thing could happen to you. You're not ever really sure. Okay? So, this knowledge that in fact you are always okay, that you cannot lose anything, okay, because you're always complete, is the greatest shock absorber for your mind, because as things come up, difficult, sometimes intractable circumstances that you cannot change, you're always able to rest in that knowledge that, hey, I'm all right. I'm okay. These circumstances may be difficult. They may be changing. Things may be hard, but I am okay. I will weather this storm because I cannot be changed. I will always be all right. Okay? So it gives you kind of like the shocks on a car that buffer you against the bumpy road of life. This self-knowledge buffers you against all of the ups and downs that come in your everyday existence. It helps you to develop equanimity, helps you to develop peace of mind, a calm, composed mind. All right? So that's the fourth benefit. Now, the fifth benefit's related to the fourth benefit, because what if you have this shock absorber of self-knowledge that allows your mind to remain more calm and clear, and also to recover more quickly from from difficult situations? Well, the benefit of that is that with a more calm and clear mind, then you become more efficient in life, okay? You gain efficiency, dakshata praptihi, all right? Because anytime that you can think clearer, anytime that you can keep your wits about you instead of being overwhelmed by your emotions like anger or fear, anxiety, worry, any of those kind of things, then you will automatically become better at whatever it is you choose to do in life, okay? You think about it, sometimes you can study for a test at school, and you've gone over the information, you're very familiar with it, you know it inside and out, but you have terrible anxiety about taking tests. So even though you know the information, you don't do well on the test because your performance is impaired by, the state of mind. Or anything. Maybe you have an argument with somebody, or you have a conflict in your life before you're supposed to go do something important. Say, do something at work. All right, so you have an argument with somebody, and then your mind gets very disturbed. You get emotional, you get upset, angry, or you get depressed because something didn't go your way. And then what? Then you go into your job, which normally you're quite good at. You've been trained, you're very familiar with the way things work. But because your mind is disturbed, because you're upset, then you don't function efficiently. You start to make stupid mistakes. Those mistakes snowball into more problems, and it keeps going and keeps going. It's just like those times when you have a very terrible day. Your day starts out with a bad situation, and then something else happens because you're upset, you're not paying attention, you make another mistake, that mistake causes you to get more upset, you make another mistake, etc., 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 and it just snowballs. So with this self-knowledge, when you have a shock absorber, then you don't get affected mentally by these events as much as you did before. And that increases your efficiency in whatever it is you happen to be doing, whether it's just a hobby, or it's your job, or it's your relationships with people. All these things work better, and they start to become more harmonious. Okay? So Vedanta is a means of knowing what your true nature is. Okay? And when you know that you are full and complete, unchanging. In other words, you're always okay. When you know that clearly, without a doubt, then obviously you get rid of your desire to know who you are, where you came from, what you're doing here, where you go when you die, what your relationship to this world and the Creator is. You get rid of that. And when you get rid of that, and you know what your true nature is, and that your nature is full, then you have satisfaction, fulfillment, confidence. Okay? And when you have that fulfillment and confidence, you know that that's within you, then you don't have to depend on external circumstances that come and go for your sense of satisfaction, for joy, for happiness. Let's just say happiness. You don't have to depend on those things for happiness, okay? And when you're not depending on things for your happiness, when they come and go, when circumstances don't go your way, then you're not buffeted from side to side like a little boat in a stormy sea, okay? You remain calm. You remain more composed. Your mind has a shock absorber to help you with the ups and downs of life. And when you have that, then you are much more efficient at the things you do. So that's a list of benefits of self-knowledge, okay? And Vedanta is a means of self-knowledge. So if these things sound like something you want, and really, who wouldn't want them, then check back for the next video, and where we will start to go into the teaching itself and tell you exactly what Vedanta is and how it works.